My name's Cathan. I was born and raised at a lodge called Kingscamp Private Game Reserve in the Timbavati. One of the most beautiful environments, in my opinion, on planet Earth. It was in this environment where I developed my innate passion for the natural world and wildlife, and where I continued to explore my passion for this incredible place. The bush is the place where I go to find myself and to reconnect with who I am and what my purpose is in this world. You know, life can really quickly become monotonous and habit. And what we say about the bush is the most predictable thing about the bush is it being unpredictable. So when you're out there, you're not sure what's going to happen next, you're not sure what's around the next corner, and no two drives are ever the same. And I think it's that unpredictability that I find so appealing and reminds me why I love the bush and why I do what I do, and just really reignites that passion. I love being out in the wild because it makes me feel alive. I feel at home here. When I get back from the city to the bush and I go out on Gay and Drive and I'm sitting with some lions or a herd of elephants, I simply feel like I'm just spending time with my friends.
Time to get wild. Our next guest takes being one with nature to the next level.
Yeah, Cathan Moore is a nature photographer whose love of all things wild brought him to where the wild things are. He takes savage takes of all the amazing things nature has to offer.
What got you into taking pictures of these beautiful animals and just of nature in general?
Well, to paint the picture, I was born and raised at a safari lodge called Kingscamp in the Timbavati Private Nature Reserve in South Africa. And this protected area is open to the Kruger National Park, which is 2.4 million hectares large. So I was born and raised and went to school in this wilderness area. And so naturally, I developed an innate passion for the wildlife, having grown up alongside it.
What an incredible childhood. I feel like there's a children's book somewhere within here that you need to write one day.
My earliest memory of being out with wildlife, when I really realized what it meant to me, I was 6 years old, and I was sitting on my dad's lap holding the steering wheel. We pulled into a lion sighting. I just remember this big male lion walking right past the vehicle, and as he got to the driver's side of the car, he looked at both of us in the eyes. I can still remember the feeling. I can't explain the feeling, but it was something that I've never felt. I think it was that moment that I realized that this is what I love. So one cub out at the moment, busy suckling on mom, so at least the sun is good, and now it's just about patience. Everything in wildlife photography boils down to patience and also a bit of luck. When the animals do tend to do stuff, it happens really quickly. It's important to have a camera like the Sony A1 that can shoot in high bursts. I hardly ever miss my images, just because the camera's there to support you when the animals are moving really quickly. We've been sitting here for probably about half an hour now, while the cub was suckling on my mom, and she got up and she left, and we literally had 5 seconds to snap pics of the cub before we decided to go down in the hole. And that again is just a perfect example about having to be patient for a very, very short amount of time where you get your reward. So when I'm out in the field taking photographs, I tend to find myself struggling to decide whether I should now take photographs or if I'm supposed to pick up my phone and take a video. The way social media is going at the moment, people are more inclined to want to watch videos. My passion's taking photographs, but I find myself now having to also take videos, which isn't an issue. It's a nice skill to have. But yeah, taking videos and uploading videos just because that's the way the reach is at the moment.
On online platforms today, there's so much negativity, there's so much hate. And so if I could make sure that my animal picture is the first thing a person sees when they wake up in the morning and go onto their phone, make their day a little bit better, then I think I am doing a good job. I started taking pictures, I started uploading my wildlife photos to Instagram in 2016, and I'd accumulated a decent following up until the end of 2021, and that's when I found a very, very special hyena that was paralyzed in his back legs. He'd been attacked by lions and he could only use his two front legs, and remarkably he learned to balance on his two front legs and get around. And for me this was living proof of nature's resilience. Such an injury could be life-threatening in the wild, and he found a way to get around it and he found a way to thrive. He was moving with his clan, he was out competing other members. You can read about these sort of things in the books. You see videos on social media, but never would I've ever expected to have encountered something like this firsthand. So I took a video of this hyena and I shared it to my social media because I wanted to share with everyone else this amazing character, and across my platforms it reached about 60 million views. It really blew my Instagram up. I had people messaging me who were paralyzed themselves, telling me that this video has really showed them that they shouldn't give up and that they should approach life with a half glass full attitude because anything is possible. My parents both see and understand how much it means to me being able to do what I do and to be able to share my experiences.
They created an environment in our household that allowed me to explore who I was in terms of being outside with the animals. I was driving into the Timbavati the other day, and it actually hit me that I am driving the same road that my dad used to drive when he was 15. It sort of hit me that I am living my dad's dream he had when he was a young boy, and for me that is very special that we've sort of completed a full circle. The fact that we're able to now do this together, it's very, very special for me.
When I come back from the city, get my dad out of work, get out into the bush, to be able to spend these special moments with him still out in the bush, both doing what we really love, being in an environment that we're so passionate about, it's very special for both of us.
Most of the time when we're out, we don't even have to say anything. We just understand that the moment that we are sharing together is an incredibly meaningful one.
My first recollection of taking photographs would be going to school. I went to school about 45 minutes to an hour's drive from the lodge. So sit in the back of the car with the iPad on my lap, drive past Eddie's, take pictures, drive past some lions, take a video.
I got my first DSLR when I was 14. I can still remember my very first game drive that afternoon with the camera. There was a leopardess in a tree feeding on a kill, and I was snapping away, but I had no idea what I was doing. Settings were a mess, but at the time I was loving my images. And a male leopard ran up the tree and stole the kill, and they had a proper fight on a branch in front of me, and I just remember snapping away and getting home and looking at the images and just feeling absolutely exhilarated at what it was. But yeah, that was a very, very special day in my life.
I matriculated in 2020, got my matric results at the end of the year, and I discovered that the Tshwane University of Technology did a diploma in commercial photography through visual communication, and I applied for the degree in commercial photography, which I did get into. Later that year, which I felt was sort of a good omen, I had entered the Benjamin Mkapa African Wildlife Awards, and I had placed first in the Youth in Africa category, which found me going to Nairobi for the awards ceremony. It was at that point when I won the competition that I realized that photography could really be a feasible future for me, and it gave me all the confidence going into 2022 to start my first year as a student in commercial photography. So when I do get my semester breaks and my quarter breaks, it's straight back to the bush, straight in the landy, out in the car, with the camera in hand, under the African sun, earth beneath my feet, and yeah, just enjoying every moment possible. I think there's two key factors that makes a good wildlife photographer. The first being patience, because obviously nothing in nature is predictable and it takes time, and so you can't get deflated when things don't happen in one morning or 2 mornings or a week. If you're chasing an image, you've got to understand that it'll happen when the time is right, and you can't allow the fact that you're not getting that photograph to deflate you in any way. The second being understanding animal behavior, because if you understand an animal's way, their mannerisms, you can pull in a bit of prediction to your photography. So if you see that a lion starts yawning, say once or twice, you can predict that they are going to get up in the next couple of minutes. And so you could position your car, say you know there's a waterhole nearby and that's the place that they're going to walk to. Move around to that side and make sure that when they do get up and they walk, you're going to have them walking directly towards you.
So we've just managed to relocate on the 2 male lions, and they are slowly mobile north, so the sun's on the eastern side. So the idea is to try and get in front of them, pull off on the side, and then let them come to us, so we can have the sun half the face lit and the other half dark, and really nice, moody and dramatic images. It's very easy to get overwhelmed in the situation and in the moment. Overall, it can just become a little panicky and overwhelmed. It's important to always just take a couple seconds, take a deep breath, compose yourself. Because if you are overwhelmed and if you are panicking, then you're just not going to get the desired images that you're after.
How I judge nature photos is when you can see the eyes and almost what that animal is feeling. And I think that's what gives so many of us that can't see them in a wild that connection that makes them so special. So I think you're doing an incredible job.
Thank you. Absolutely. That's what I wish to achieve through my photography, is to tell the stories of these animals, because they all have individual characters and they all are living separate lives, and to give people that aren't fortunate enough to be able to visit these areas or have the upbringing that I had, and be able to give them an insight into this wild place and their lives.
Having grown up in this environment, I've lived parallel lives alongside most of the characters that call this place home. So I photographed this leopard, and to me it's not just a leopard. She is raising a cub. She's had 3 cubs before. She's an incredible huntress. She's escaped a near-death experience with lions, and so when I photograph an image, I want to convey her trial and tribulations and her life story to my viewer, and I do that through really intense portraits. And I fill the frame with the character, because there's a saying that I like to refer back to is, an animal's eyes have the power to speak a great language, and so I use my subject's eyes to convey their life story to my viewer. Shooting now with Sony for the first time, I found the A1 incredibly intuitive. It really took me 2 to 3 shooting sessions maximum to get comfortable with how the camera works and its button layout.
In nature, the only predictable thing is unpredictability. The Sony A1 shoots at 30 frames per second, and so what I was finding is I hardly ever missed the shots that I was trying to get when the wildlife was on the move and when I really needed the camera to have my back. So when that cheetah is running across the savannah, you're able to track it with your autofocus eye tracking, and it locks onto that cheetah's eyes and it holds its focus all the way through. Another aspect about the Sony A1 that I found really impressive was its dynamic range, and as well as when shooting at high ISOs, the lack of digital noise across the ISO range. After getting home and reviewing the images, I was incredibly impressed to find out that there was hardly any digital noise in the images. I've been extremely spoiled to photograph with the 400 and 600mm Sony prime lenses over the last couple of days as well. The first thing that stands out to me is image quality and detail. I photographed a bird yesterday that was miles off. I wasn't expecting it to amount to much, and after reviewing it on the LCD screen, punched right in there with the magnifying, and I was mind blown to see that the detail was still there. Being out in the field with the Sony A1 just made me so much more relaxed, because I could put my trust in the camera and trust that the camera had my back when taking photographs. Going forward, I would love to maximize on my ability to be outdoors and be out in the field, but also to take people with me. It doesn't necessarily be pro in photography, but to teach them as well, just to see the beauty and the importance of what a picture can do.
I think ultimately my passion for the natural world and for wildlife will hopefully link into conservation. I'm so passionate about conserving these areas, and not enough people know about the areas and the plight of the wildlife. So your rhinos that are being poached out and the pangolins that are getting illegal trafficked.
I would love to use my social media platforms and my voice ultimately as a way to raise awareness about these amazing places that I get to call home.